Next on the This Old House Hour. Today we'll show you a new way that we're protecting our house from air and water.
And we'll visit a shop and see our historic window sash restored.
I'll tell you, this is a great time saver.
Oh, look at that. That comes right off.
And we'll deal with a major discovery in the kitchen.
They cut right through this thing. And also,
This heating system's making a racket, but not for long.
I'm going to transform this front yard from an overgrown mess to a beautiful garden.
And we'll ask, what is it?
I could get down on my hands and knees, but that would be commitment. So with this, you know, I can just pump this.
this is all I get. So stick around. Much of the work on our renovation is going on out back here. This is a new family room addition, and it is about 400 square feet of new space. Now, last week we raised the gable end wall, and then after that, well, Tommy and his guys were off to the races. They brought up the other side walls, and then he laid in a huge ridge beam, and on top of that, he framed himself a roof. And this addition was built pretty much the way Tommy's been building for decades, except there's one thing different. It's green, and I was wondering why, so we asked Joe Stiebrick, a building science engineer, to come in and tell us why. Joe, why is our addition green?
Keep the water out and keep the air out.
But we've been doing that for centuries.
We've been doing it differently over 300 years. We're getting better at it.
All right. How did we used to do it?
Well, we didn't do anything 300 years ago. We built out 1,000-year-old pieces of wood, and it's okay for them to get wet as long as they dried, and they did because these walls were completely uninsulated.
Right.
And then the big improvement was that we should put rosin paper over the cracks.
So just putting the paper over these seams meant the air didn't blow through your house, and that increased comfort.
Amazing.
All right.
That is true. And then that change happened about 100 years ago, the turn of the last century, around the 1900s. And then in the 1920s and 1930s, we began to add insulation into the cavities, and eelgrass and straw. We saw the early fiberglass products, and we reduced energy flow, and people realized that we had to actually start focusing on rain as well. So the next innovation was to treat the rosin paper with asphalt, and so we ended up inventing or developing old-fashioned tar paper.
And that's the black layer that we're looking at right here, impregnated with tar.
And so the tar paper served two functions, air control and water control. But remember, it was the air control first and the water control second.
But today I see house wrap on buildings. It looks just like this. It goes all around the building. What is this doing for us?
Well, in the 1980s, it was a fabulous improvement. It was doing exactly what the tar paper did, but did it better. Fewer joints, and we could actually tape these materials together. And so it was doing what it was supposed to do, but doing a better job than the old tar paper.
So if it's doing it well, if it's keeping the air and the water out, why are we getting rid of it and turning our houses into green where there is no house wrap?
Well, it's even better now. We've saved a step. We've gotten rid of a layer. We don't have to go around the building more than once now.
So this is like the paper right into the sheathing.
That's correct. We've taken a more dimensionally stable OSB with more resin content.
Right.
And then we have a facer or a lamina. Think of a facer as being ultra-thin mosquito netting impregnated with latex paint that happens to be green in color.
So we impregnate it right into the OSB, and it helps keep this makes it watertight. You know, the water can get on this, no problem.
And we have to do the joint detail, and so we have to tape the joints to handle both the water control and the air control. So
Got a seam like this, and you're saying that we put the tape over it that looks like this.
The facing actually helps the tape stick to do its job.
And so this is keeping out the air and the water just like we used to, but all sort of in one step.
In one step. And this technology is pretty much the death knell for the traditional house wrap.
Really? So no more house wraps, we're going to start building green.
We're going to be starting green, but could be pink, could be brown.
All right, well, thank you, Joe.
You're welcome.
Our new family room addition has a completely different feel than the rest of the house. While the original part of the house is sort of squat with low ceiling, in here we are talking about a lot of open space. We have got views through a bunch of windows. We're going to have a modern gas fireplace slide right into here. But most distinctly, I think it is the 15-foot cathedral ceilings that jump out at you. Now, Tommy, you framed these up pretty quickly after all the sidewalls went on, and I guess it all starts with this big beam that you put in.
Well, that ridge beam is actually carrying this roof, and it's also keeping the walls from bowing out.
Okay.
But that ridge is resting on this structural post right here, and it also continues on top of the old roof. So that's called an overframe.
Right.
Very similar to what we did in the front of the house.
Okay, so now this is the back of the house. This is where we are in this addition right here. This is the new roof, and the beam, you're saying, runs right along here.
Right, that's the ridge, and you notice how it travels up on top of this roof.
Just sits right there, and that's actually what I'm looking at in this corner here.
Right, if you look up here, you can see that this post is carrying the ridge,
Yeah.
but the center section travels right through and carries the rafters that are sitting on top of the old roof.
Okay, so that's how it's built, but let's talk about the effect, and we can see that if we start taking this model apart. There goes the roof. I'll take off the second floor.
Okay, so now you can really see inside what we have.
We are standing in this little addition right here. These collar ties are not in. You're going to add these?
Well, these are strictly cosmetic, so we're going to try to find some old beams and insert them.
And then you'll be looking right through to the kitchen because we've got a wall coming down.
Right, well, this is the old outside wall right here that's still existing, and we're going to take that wall down.
So that's going to have a big effect when this whole space goes away. What of this wall stays and what of it goes?
Well, obviously, everything above this LVL stays. These 2-bys, all right, that make up the wall are actually supported now by this new LVL.
And obviously your new post right here stays because you just added that.
Right.
So we're talking about removing the windows, getting rid of the wall board, and these
And the
2-bys.
studs, yep.
It's going to make a huge difference, right? And we're also going to end up opening up the kitchen to a new pantry, and the homeowners are going to love this space. They got a window in it. They're going to have cabinets and countertops for all the storage of the dry goods.
Great space.
Yeah. So ready to go. Can we take this down?
Not so fast, Sonny. I ran into a problem yesterday that I discovered when we opened up a wall in the kitchen. We have to deal with it now.
What's that?
Well, you know that this old...
Tommy, I'm getting sick and tired of